The heartbreaking story of this failed Tradwife who unfortunately got handed the short end of the stick.
Hi besties, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we'll be diving into a topic that is raw and real, which is the third wife to single mother pipeline. So sweetheart, who is better to share besties? Before we dive into the video, take a second, just a second, to like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on the notification bell because you do not want to miss our upcoming videos because they will be fully packed. So don't mind me, let's get real.
I want to start this video by saying that I'm not asking for money and I'm not asking for sympathy. What I'm asking for is if you are a young 14, 16, 21-year-old girl, listen up. I drove to the grocery store. I need to grab some milk and bread and a couple things, flipped open the bank app on my phone, and I've been sitting in my car crying ever since because I never have enough money. And why do I never have enough money? Because when I was a 19-year-old girl, I fell in love. My Mormon faith told me that I was supposed to be a stay-at-home mom. I got married. I started having babies. I dropped out of college. I never had a career. My only jobs that I ever had in life were a waitress at the Olive Garden and managing a pretzel maker in a mall. Oh, my first couple years of marriage, I decided that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, so I bought a windshield business. I was 20. And my Mormon stake president reminded me that women weren't supposed to work, so I quit my own business, handed it over to my husband, took my name off of it. I would work our family business throughout the next 24 years of my marriage, but I never got paid. I didn't have a salary. My name wasn't on it. I literally worked for room and board. That's it. I would eventually also launch a custom home building company with my uncle as the architect and my friends as the builder, my designs, my realtor. But again, because my husband was the man, his name was on all of the projects, his name was on the business. I remember one of the last custom homes that I built, we sold it and made about a $260,000 profit. That money all went into his bank account. I didn't even have a bank account. I should have said that in the beginning. I never had a bank account. He would give me little envelopes of cash to go grocery shopping with. Anyway, that house sells, the money goes in the bank. I just asked if I could buy myself a piano with the money. I had worked on building that house for 2 years. All of the money went into his bank account. Nothing was under my name. I got a piano and I got a free house to live in. And I got groceries. So I found myself divorced at age 44 just 5 years ago, and within just a few months I was living in my car while he made about $250,000. He would eventually quit that job so that he wouldn't have to pay alimony and child support. He has only paid alimony one time ever in the 5 years since we've been divorced. Once ever. Right after my divorce, I remember being really confident about my ability to get a job, so I put together a resume. I remember one of the first interviews that I had was a management position for a windshield company, similar to the one that we had run. And the man actually laughing as he was interviewing me, like he was really sympathetic. He wasn't being a douchebag, but he was laughing. And he's like, so let me get this straight. You helped manage your family windshield business with your husband, but you were mostly a stay-at-home mom, and all you did was like the marketing and the hiring, firing, and some of the strategy for the business. But it became really apparent that I needed so many more skills to have any type of management job. I couldn't even work the basic computers. He told me in the interview, please don't apply for any more jobs like this. You are not qualified at all. You're not capable of doing this unless you go back to school and get your degree or get some different experience. And so I ended up, my first job after my divorce was $11 an hour, 4 hours a day, working as an assistant to a school teacher in an elementary school. I made $44 a day. For 24 years, I lived in $1 million homes. I vacationed all over the world. I spent my summers in Hawaii. I could buy myself $500 jeans, diamond tennis bracelets. We had boats and RVs and whatever I wanted. And it never bothered me once that my financial security was dependent on that man being in love with me. I never realized that him liking me or not liking me or finding me sexy or attractive or interesting determined whether or not my children could eat, whether or not I could buy myself a fucking jug of milk and a loaf of bread. So I had my 5th surgery in 2 years, 2 weeks ago, and I'm supposed to be in bed resting, and I can't because I've worked 7 days a week since my divorce 5 years ago, which is why I'm covered in paint and looking like crap. We actually have a 4-day weekend here in Tucson, and since my partner isn't working, he's working on furniture flip partner projects with me. I have no retirement. I have no savings, no education, no resume. I was almost a straight A student throughout all of my education. I went to college at age 17. I had dreams for my future. I'm working so hard to get myself out of just perpetual side hustle hell. There's not a day that goes by that I don't wonder why. Why I didn't have a fucking backup plan. Why my kids eating and having stability was dependent on a romantic relationship. Why nobody told me to put money in the bank. Why nobody told me, don't have babies until you have an education and some experience. Don't have so many kids. I wish somebody had told me to put my name on our vehicle loans and to put my name on our houses. I wish somebody had told me that it's okay to put those babies in daycare for a couple days a week and go to college and have a job. And I think I need to do an entire Tradwife sequel, because you can be happy and rich and loving your life like Ballerina Farm until the guy walks out. I want you guys to imagine for a minute, even rich Hannah, if Deanna walked out, if all of his financial backing and he had to sell the farm, and then what does she have? Find another rich boy to marry? I just don't want one more woman to DM me, comment, send me their stories, cry to me about how hard it is for them to support their families, and I am so tired of living my own story. We have to make this stop. Raise your daughters to be financially independent. Focus on their futures and educations just as much as you focus on your sons. I wish that someone had done that for me.
It took me a 10-year marriage and 3 kids to realize that I never actually wanted to be a wife. Hear me out. I know it sounds terrible, but the truth is, it doesn't feel terrible at all. If I had known that I would have this kind of peace from living alone, baby, I would have done this shit a long time ago. For many of us who got married at a really young age, I think that we just really didn't understand the difference between getting married and actually maintaining a marriage. I mean, when you're young, forming relationships and making new commitments is so much easier to do when you don't actually understand the type of dynamics that you're creating by committing to those relationships. There is a nuance of gender roles in marriage that I don't think that I was essentially prepared for. Even growing up in a 2-parent household, I really feel like I underestimated the amount of going along with things, the preserving of the male ego, and really just this type of performative femininity that always felt really inauthentic to me. So there's this fine line between compromise and submission. Submission in itself is really performative. I've watched it firsthand. And submission is almost like an art form in itself. Some women are better at it than others. And I'm not going to lie to you. I suck at it. I mean, I just can't sit around with somebody in my ear saying, let me lead, lead me where, Because it seems like you want to lead me into a damn heart attack. I am emotionally and physically and mentally being led into distress. And I mean, as much as I try to sort of kind of minimize myself and kind of take a back seat to things that I knew were not necessarily okay with me, I think that the more I did that, the less of myself that I felt. And it created this feeling of just feeling very disconnected with myself. And again, it just felt really deeply inauthentic to me. I think that marriage is like a dance in a lot of ways. And in this dance, you often have to sort of give up little pieces of your autonomy. And I mean, that's fine, as long as both parties are actually consenting to this power dynamic. My issue is what happens when it's no longer beneficial for both people. That's when I feel like it starts to create this cycle of abuse and resentment. Because at this point, submission is no longer the type of submission that you signed up for. This is basically, I just want you to shut the fuck up and let me do you any kind of way, and I'm just going to expect you to stick around. And a lot of times, it's not about just sticking around. You're also expected to continue to carry the emotional and mental labor of keeping the relationship intact. So it's like you don't even honor or have reverence or gratitude for the roles that you created. And I feel like if you're going to participate in this social construct, then it has to edify and uplift you in some way, right? I've seen great marriages, and this is not an anti-marriage post. Like, I've seen the type of social stability that comes from a good marriage, the families that come out of good marriages. But when it's no longer mutually beneficial, when it's no longer contributing to your well-being or the well-being of your family, what's even the point?
So I'm a former Mormon Tradwife. I have 6 kids. I'm 38 years old. I don't have an education. I got married young. I had kids young, and I absolutely gave up on my hopes and dreams to choose the life that I have now. If you would have asked me 5 years ago if I felt like I had choices in my life, I would have hands down told you that I was incredibly happy with the choices that I made, and that I made those choices knowing full well what I was choosing. Now that I've been out of the church for 3 years, I will tell you that I was never actually given a choice, because I see that the choices that I were given were not given in an honest light. It's not fair to show someone 10 candy bars and say, hey, you can choose this candy bar, which is the right candy bar that you should choose, or you can choose these 9, which are poisonous and deadly, and if they don't kill you, they're going to kill all of your friends and family members. What would you like to choose? That's how choices are given in Mormonism. So when you're in it, you feel like you're making a choice that makes you happy. And to be fair, like, I was happy in the sphere of what I knew happiness was, which in Mormonism, sacrifice and suffering is required for happiness. You're taught that everyone else's happiness outside of the Mormon church isn't real happiness. The joy you feel being Mormon, even though it comes with pain and suffering and sacrificing the choices that you actually would have made had you been presented the entire truth, is better and more and real. So are Mormon women truly choosing their lives and being happy with their choices? I think it depends what you consider choice and what you consider happiness. But I will say that for me, leaving Mormonism was the first true choice that I ever made. I didn't know life could be this amazing.
It really is super fucking amazing to not be fucking stuck in a shitty marriage and get to make your own fucking... It's like the funnest shit ever. The funnest shit ever. I don't have to ask nobody's fucking permission. I can get the fucking flower baskets I want. I can get the goofy little fucking sweater I want that I think is cute as fuck. Like, I thought it was just toothpaste and toilet paper and shit, but I get to make all the motherfucking decisions. It's everything.
I did not grow up safe and never had friends except the books I read. So when I was 15 and met my future husband, even though he was 12 years older, I thought he was safe. How wrong I was. Being so young and naive, when I fell pregnant at 16, he painted this perfect picture of a loving, stable family I had always dreamed of. Every major step I took, I dreaded, knowing I had no way to escape. The net kept tightening. When my first was 6 weeks old, I fell pregnant again. I consoled myself and told myself just to stick around for 18 years so these kids would have a dad. But I was wrong. He grew more and more religious and controlling until I had 10 children, and I was discouraged from any training or work experience because he wanted to provide, when in reality he realized our social system would provide very nicely the more children we had. By then, I was stressed and exhausted, and I begged him to get a vasectomy or contraceptives, both against his beliefs. And when I was pregnant with my 11th, I was severely depressed. On the outside, we had this fairy tale, large, homesteading family. On the inside, no one's opinions were allowed to differ from his. His demands were never ending and nearly impossible to meet. His expectations to be treated like a king, only answerable to by God, made him very difficult to live with. Luckily, after my 12th baby, I no longer carried babies to term. He had me so convinced I was miserable because of my hormones, I committed to ending myself once my youngest was 3, as I honestly believed I was such a bad person I needed to not be in my children's lives. I had no idea for 28 years I had been living with DV. One day I told my friend of about 20 years that I needed to escape. She made the calls to find a place for myself and my 5 younger children in a women's shelter. She is one of so many people who helped me to get where I am today. I am so grateful to be free and 7 years later still appreciate my now single mother with kids life, even with the realization we are neurodiverse and the challenges that come with that. Signed, an ex-home birthing, bread making, hand milking, homesteading, homeschooling mama.
Confessions of an ex-Tradwife. So I don't regret the time that I had with my children. My children were the most beautiful thing that's ever happened to me, and I can confidently say that as a mama. But it wasn't a wise decision. I've been a single mom and a solo income breadwinner for the last decade of my life. So for any of you being like, well, I'm a Tradwife, I know, I was you. And I also was houseless for a time and working at Starbucks, making $9 an hour at 31 years old with an education. And it took me 5 years to save up $100,000 so I could buy my own house, because I walked out of my marriage with $9,000 in debt, a Mazda CX-9, and a dresser in the back. Kind of sucked, you know? It was desperate times. And a lot of women are like, oh, but I'll just get alimony. Did you know that most cases don't get alimony? Unless you have a very high income earner and you've been married long enough, you're not gonna get that. And you're like, well, I had a career, so I could just go back to earning money. Yeah, you could, but income earning potential compounds over time. So making up for lost time is a little bit harder. It is easier now with the internet, but man, you gotta hustle. And women on the other side, you know what we all have in common? We all say, I will never merge my bank account with a man ever again.
So, you know what you could do as a Tradwife? You could create financial safety for yourself. Get really in touch with the money, start having these, if you haven't had these conversations, invite your partner into it. Invite your partner into how are we creating financial safety for me, and start asserting yourself in the money combo, okay? Money before men.
I speak on this. Grandmother, stay at home. Mom, stay at home. Me, followed right in their footsteps. 1995, got married. 1997, had my first baby. 2000, had my second. 2004, had my third. No career, no education beyond a high school diploma. It is what I wanted. Having no understanding of the consequences that I'm now facing as a result of that choice. All while my now ex-husband made me feel guilty because I wasn't contributing to the financial household, but yet wanted all of the things done at home as a stay-at-home wife does. He wanted both. And I didn't work outside the home. Then later, as my kids got a little bit older and in school, and the youngest one was Mother's Day out programs and stuff, I would do housekeeping and anything to bring a little extra money in to our household income. But yeah, no education beyond a high school diploma, no effort to make any kind of career moves moving forward. And then fast forward to 2016, we're divorced, and I'm starting at the bottom with no job experience, even though I had managed a household, albeit sometimes the financial part was very poorly. That's a whole nother topic. And raised 3 children. And now I'm 49 years old, and I'm struggling financially because I don't have 20 years of work experience on top of the most recent 10 years. So I should have 30 years of work experience. Don't have that. I have 10. Now my job is being eliminated at my current employer. I have 6 months. I have a retention bonus plus severance after that, and then I've got to find something else. In spite of the fact that I have been trying to get out of this company for multiple years because I have been so very unhappy in this role. And even moving internally in my company, I haven't been able to do that either because they want a degree. They want some type of college education on a resume, and I don't have that. Being a stay-at-home mom is both rewarding and extremely sacrificing. My girls, I was always there for them. Got them to school, got them home. They rarely had to ride the bus. Doctor's appointments, piano lessons, sick, I was home. Anytime they needed anything, I was their caretaker. Their dad was there. He was not a terrible dad. He was supportive as a parent. Although when I wanted to go do something for myself and get out and have some fun with my friends, I was always, I got to stay home and babysit kind of thing. No, these are your kids. You're not babysitting. You're parenting. At the time, I didn't have that verbiage. I didn't have that vocabulary because I didn't understand that what he was saying was not okay because it's what I had known all my life. My mom stayed at home. She didn't work outside the home until she was older. Then my dad died at 54 years of age and left her a widow. For the next 20 years, that woman struggled. So whether it's divorce or death, Tradwives, in this economy, especially, our parents did not experience the same thing that we're experiencing in the 80s. The job market, things were so much better in the 80s than it is right now. Yeah. So if you're going to be a tradwife, and if that's what you want, and again, that is what I wanted, but it's also all that I knew, and I did not have a college education, and for me to try to work and pay daycare, it was pointless because I wasn't making enough money to justify paying for the daycare. I was basically working to pay daycare is what I would have been doing, because again, I was making just above minimum wage because I had no skills to even give me that higher dollar amount, and then I got married and had kids, and then I wasn't working. So yeah, if you're going to be a tradwife, prepare yourself. I wish I had known then what I know now. I wish I had had people like me telling me what I'm telling you now. Don't rely on your significant other to take care of your needs forever, because shit happens.
Why is tradwife content suddenly blowing up? Because people my age that were traditional wives are getting divorced and realize that they threw 20 years of optional, available, could have been energy into the workforce, into their future. They threw that away doing laundry and watching their kids. Now, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't trade staying home with my children for anything. However, I would have insisted on some sort of investment into my future, either by way of a 401k, an IRA, a home in my name, or I would have had to have some sort of side gig where I could have put that on a resume if anything happened to my husband or our marriage. And so people my age, women that are in their 40s and 50s, that have raised their children, who have been traditional wives, are coming forward and talking about the realities of that. Because someone like my grandmother, who couldn't have left her husband no matter what, because she went from high school and her parents into being a stay-at-home wife and mother, she could never have left, ever. And so I, being 51, I am like one of the first or second generations of women being traditional stay-at-home wives who are coming out and saying, don't do this to yourself. And so tradwife content is becoming super popular right now because what's happening is the tradwife is glamorizing staying home and being a homemaker and a stay-at-home mother, which again, there's nothing wrong with that as long as you talk about the fact that if your husband dies, you're screwed, like triple double screwed. I have a family member that if her husband died or left her tomorrow, she would be a stay-at-home wife, broke on her ass with 4 kids and no way to support herself. Or if he died, she's completely screwed. And for all of you out there that say, just marry a really good man, that's great and all, but what if you're sick of this really great man? What if he dies? What if he becomes like incapable of going to work? It's not that tradwife content is extremely popular right now. Everyone's being mean. What's happening is that we are the second generation of women coming forward to say, quit being so goddamn stupid and protect yourself. 50% of marriages end in divorce. And while he's making $100,000+ a year, you have no skills, no career, no resume, nothing. Except for kids and a dog and God knows what else. You'll be living in an apartment while he's got his new 20-something in his penthouse or the family home. So good luck.
Listen, there's a lot of people in my life who think that I am an absolute party pooper because when I see young couples getting married, instead of just saying congratulations, I have to sit down and talk about financial autonomy and making sure that the female is supported in the relationship as much as the male is, and how are you going to co-raise those children together, and what's the exit strategy. And that's not a particularly romantic thing to ask a young couple when they're about to tie the knot. But I really wish that somebody had had those conversations with me. When I was 20 years old, I got married to a smoking hot Mormon returned missionary, and he promised to love me forever, not just till death do us part, for time and all of eternity. And he was a liar, but I didn't know that when I was 20. So I dropped out of college and gave up my job and had the babies and stayed home for 24 years of my life. And if you're new to me and you don't know what happened, at age 44, about 6 years ago today, I caught him picking up a 19-year-old escort. How do I know she's 19? Because that's what he had typed into the Google search. 19-year-old escort Phoenix. Before he chatted with somebody on, I think it was Backpage, arranged a meetup, which I had caught on his phone and followed him up there the next night. 2 days after, my husband abandoned me and our 4 kids for a 19-year-old escort, I went to Trader Joe's to buy myself a bag of groceries, swiped my card, and it was declined. I should have had a ton of money in that account, and it was all gone. It was gone. My name had never been on one of our homes. My name hadn't been on our vehicles. My name wasn't on the Mercedes that I was driving at the time that our marriage ended. He was able to evict me from the condo that we were renting together because I didn't even exist on the lease, not even as a roommate, not even as a pet. He just canceled the lease. I was just some weirdo living in the condo that Jake had canceled, and so the apartment evicted me. I'd always kind of thought in my head too, like, being a homemaker gives me a lot of skills that I bet would translate into a job. So I right away put together a resume, talked about all of the work that I had done in our family businesses, and went out and started interviewing for jobs. And there was not a person in this entire fucking world who wanted to hire a 44, 45, 46-year-old who had been a stay-at-home mom since the time she was 20. So my first and actually only job that I had after my divorce was $11 an hour, working as an assistant in an elementary school classroom 4 hours a day. If you did the math, $44 a day. The only reason that my rent is paid this month is, first of all, my TikTok followers are constantly supporting my content, and I have 3 separate jobs. Sales job, furniture flipping business, and I'm still working my Mormon essential oils MLM. I work 7 days a week. I have no retirement. I live in a family member's guest house that they could sell at any moment. I've only existed in the credit world for about 4 years, so I can't finance anything. And it just kind of pisses me off that I went into my marriage thinking that I had a 100% success rate. I didn't have an exit strategy. I didn't have any way to support myself if things went south, and here I am. So I've been living this out on camera for the past 3 years, and I don't plan to go anywhere. I'll keep you posted. Let's see how it ends. Would have been better if I had made different decisions in the beginning, and I wish that somebody had told 20-year-old me that a man is not a plan. Never has been, never will be.
And they had a 6-figure job when I was the stay-at-home mom. This is what happened to me. So I'm just telling every one of you, if you are a stay-at-home parent, don't do it. Or if you are, make sure that you get paid a salary by your ex, put into an account for you. Because I'm telling you right now, they will just up in one day, 17 years later, decide that they don't want to do anything anymore. After you supported their career and you supported their dreams and hobbies, one day they might just wake up and say, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. And then you're homeless, single parent, just trying to survive. I no longer have insurance on this house. This house isn't even mine. Both of my parents died in the last year, and I've been staying in their house. Like, the electric bill's not even in my name. I had to go this morning and pay the past due bill so they wouldn't cut it off. I work on the weekends. I work through the week. I am not making enough money. I am trying. I'm disabled. I was a stay-at-home mom for 14 years. I haven't had a job interview outside of the home in 20 years. I am literally doing my best. I am drowning in debt, in depression, in trauma. My ex sends me abusive texts when I try to ask for anything to be done about the child support for them to parent. There will never be consequences for them ruining my credit because they don't pay what is court ordered. There just never will be. And I know I'm bitching. I don't care. I'm bitching because it's not fair. And lots of women go through this, and it's disgusting and sick, and something should be done.
First off, I think we need to appreciate these ex-Tradwives that have come out to speak up, to make us realize that Tradwife is not as glamorous as this modern day Tradwife influencers are making it to look like. If you get the point, we want to appreciate them for their courage to come out and speak even after their struggles in the marriage and after the marriage, make how they are unemployed, underemployed, broke, and homeless after everything they have given in to the marriage and everything they have sacrificed their time. If the moral of everything is that a man cannot be your plan B. I don't know if you get this. It's not safe to make a man your plan, like to depend on a man fully. You need to go out to work. If you need to go to school, you go to school. If you need to learn a skill, you learn a skill. Just do something, because if you learn a skill or you go to school, nobody can take your certificate from you. Nobody can take that skill from you. But you see this marriage, and the funny part is most of these women went into this marriage when they were pretty young. Most of them got married 17, 18, 19. If you hear the stories, that's what they're saying. Pretty young. And you pause to even think, why are these men going after all these young girls who are 17, 18, 19? It's because they know these ones do not know much about life. They don't know a lot about life. So they're easy to control, they're easy to manipulate than people who have had the little experience about life, know little things about life. I don't know. And they just hide under hide under religion or tradition to manipulate these little girls to believe that it is safe and it's okay for them to abandon their education or abandon anything they are doing and go into marriage to become wives and mothers. See, it's fine. For some of them, it work out for them, but for a lot of them, it do not work out. They should just let these kids or these young girls choose for themselves and not just hide. Because a lot of these men are insecure men. A lot of these men are manipulating men. A lot of them, I don't know what to say. They just hide under religion and do unthinkable. And the minute you divorce these men, you find out they're even more terrible as human beings, because they will not want to support you in any way, thinking they are punishing you, not knowing they are also punishing their kids. They will not want to support you in any way. Some of them will go as far as like quitting their job so that they will not have any source of income. So how are they going to help you when they are not working? I don't know if you get it. So this is for all the young girls out there. Everything that you see online is that glitter is not good, sweetheart. I know you've heard of that saying before. All that glitter is not gold. It might work for someone else, it might not work for you. You get, someone might get married at 18 and be married all their life. Someone might get married at 50 and divorce the next day. Do you do something that is for you? Have your own money. So that no man will wake up in the morning and tell you something that you will not be able to stand because you don't have money. You just like, you know what, I'm going to enjoy it. I don't know if you get it, but if you have your own money, you will not want to take rubbish from them. You will not want to endure unnecessary pain. All in the name of, oh, I'm doing this for my kids. Are you for real? If you die, those kids are still going to live. It's better you be alive to take care of your kids than for you to die. Fight for yourself. Do not let religion or tradition tie you down and force you to do things you do not want to do. I don't know what to say. At this point, I think I've said all that is on my mind. I don't know. What do you guys think? Tell me in the comment section. Let's know your thoughts about the struggles. Is it safe to make a man your plan B? Or even a lot of them will make them plan A. Tell me. And some people will say, oh, if you're a good wife, your husband is not going to divorce you. Seriously. If you're a good wife, you're not supposed to divorce your husband. Seriously. Please, sweetheart, if you're not happy, if you're not comfortable, both emotionally, mentally, run for your life. When I mean run without looking back. Like escape for your life. That is very important. Run. Yes, run for your life.